who support my show on Instagram. Ah, good evening. Thank you for joining me here on The Entrepreneur. Today's show would be episode 11, which the show would be about should an entrepreneur company go public? That's something that a lot of entrepreneurs were thinking about. There is advantages and disadvantages in going public. Um, we'll go into further with that and discuss that. Uh, the last episode was episode 10, which focused on finance, discussing finance and the importance of financing to a business. The next episode that we'll have after today's episode 11 will be episode 12, which will be on this Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and 6 p.m. Pacific Time. That show would focus on women and entrepreneurship. Okay, and before I will move any further, I'd like to give a thank you to my YouTube subscribers who supported my show here on YouTube, The Entrepreneur. And I'd like to give a thanks to those on Facebook who have supported my show and all others on Facebook business groups and those who supported my show on Instagram. I'd like to give a thanks to those individuals. And I'd like to give a thanks to those who support my show on LinkedIn. Thank you all for doing so. And those who also support my show on Twitter and those who support my show, as I stated, on Instagram. So what we're going to do today is to go over the importance of should an entrepreneur company go public. As I mentioned before we go further, I want to state this. Excuse me. I would like to state this, that those who would like to further see this show, please do not be afraid to leave a comment on the show. I'd like to know feedback from those who do watch the show. I'd like for those who please subscribe to the show, share the show in other media formats with friends, family. Also, when you click on the link to subscribe, you're going to have a button that's on the top of it where it tells you to, it's a bell. You click on that bell, and that gives you notification whenever a new show is aired live. So, further ado, let's begin. Now, there's some controversy with should companies go live, go public or not. That's something that, the company's leadership must give consideration, must think about, must strategize, see, is it valuable for their company's growth, or is it a disadvantage, or you may lose control of your company. Now, many people don't know what IPO is. IPO stands for Initial Public Offering. Okay, with an IPO, there's pros. For example, pros: you can raise capital, you can get funding for expansion, funding for research for your business. Also, is an exit plan out for executives who basically the company has grown to a successful rate and these guys want to cash out. They may want to merge and sell their company or have someone buy them out for millions or billions of dollars. That's an option that you can take if you go that route. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Now, it also is with going public with your business can establish prestige for your company. Now, these are the pro sides of it. And there are benefits, there's advantages to it, but there are also disadvantages that you must also consider. And these are things that you need to look into and, you know, have some thoughts about and considerations about these things. I myself, because I'm working on starting, I pretty much started it already, a coffee business, and I'm working on the structure and getting the business, getting the leadership and etc. But as the business will grow, um, at one point I had thought about going public. If the business grows and becomes public, um, I saw a lot of plus sides to it. But then, as you know, I did my own personal research, which I would advise you to do as well. Do your own personal research. Um, I'm not too keen about going public for various reasons. One, now the disadvantages of it is one, the company can go through scrutiny by um, by investors. You're going to have investors, and you're going to be beholden to the investors. You're not going to have full autonomy over your company. You once you go public, you go into the market and you go public with your company. All eyes are on your company. So the company make has to do well in profits and be able to ensure investors that their shares of stocks with your company would be at a high value, a very high price, where the stock, you know that the value of that stock will not dwindle. People are not going to, if they if your investors invest into your company stock, they expect you, especially the CEO and other executive members of your company, to be able to stabilize the um, stock shares. Now, if you are unable to stabilize the stock shares, there's a great chance you can be ousted out of your own company, even though you are the founder. You look at, there's many CEOs this has happened to. Uh, you look at the CEO of Uber, even though he had allegations, but there was other things that prompt him to be taken out, and there was other many CEOs of other various companies that was taken out because of performance. Stock performance weren't doing too well, and guess what? The investors and board members will make a decision to can you. This is a reality. So you got to remember, you're not going to have full control as if when you was private, when your company was private, you had full autonomy and say in what is the daily operations of your company. So when you go public, chances are you're going to lose a lot of controlling factors in your company. And this is something that you have to consider and think about. Is this good for you? Is this valuable for you? Um, Also, the then there's government regulations. When the government comes in, there's regulations and laws that you have to follow once you become public, and you will have to reveal your company's financial records publicly. Okay. Now, for example, you have the Security Exchange Act of 1934. This is what governs the IPOs and standards that each company must follow when they go public. So I advise you to look that up. That's Security Exchange Act of 1934. Look that up because if you're going to consider going public, you need to look that up and figure out, hey, is this as good? Is this valuable for you to even consider or doing? Um, However, going public diversifies ownership, imposes restrictions on management and opens the company up to regulatory constraints. For me, I'd be honest with you. That's something that I would not want to do. I would like to have full control, or at least my executive branch would have full control of the company and say so. Because once you are private, the leadership of your company can make the decisions that is needed to um, make sure that the growth of the company exceeds its expectations. You have control on what goes on in the company. You have control of how you want to fund certain projects needed to make the company grow. Um, but when you go public, like I said, there is advantages. You can get funding. You can get um, uh, things that you need to help fund your company. You can get venture capitalists who's willing to invest. You can get millions and billions of dollars to help fund your company, but you're going to be beholden to others when you are public. Um, let's say, for example, when you go listing a company, the IPO process begins with contacting an investment bank and making certain decisions, such as the price of the shares that will be issued. Uh, Investment banks take on the task of underwriting or becoming owners of the shares and assuming legal responsibility for them. Now, before you even think about going public and having an IPO, right? one, one of the things you have to do is, as I just mentioned, you have to go and see a investment bank. They would go out and do what we call an analysis of your standing, because you have to meet requirements. You just can't just go out and just go public and say, hey, I want to go public. You have to meet certain criteria in order to go public. Um, you have to show at least, I believe, between 3 to about 7 years of strong profit earnings. You have to at least be making a profit between 10 million to about maybe $20 million per year. Uh, what else you have to do there? You have to also see. You have to have strong leadership. You have to show that you have strong leadership. You have to be able to um, let's see what else you got to do there. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. Um, uh, you have to meet, as I mentioned, you have to meet financial standards. Um, you have to show that you have a good executive leadership. Um, uh, you would be able to maintain the growth of the business and be sure that you can maintain the price of the stocks of the company. And these are just some of the requirements that you have to comply with in order to go public, right? So let's say this, for me, for say, um, I would like to know from those out there, if any of you own a company, of anybody out there who owns a company, who who may have done profit sharing or things of that sort. Let's see what else. Uh, what else you can do there? Um, Nothing to see here. Out. All right, hold on for a moment. I was just sharing something. Okay, great. All right, so these are the things you have to do in order to consider going public. Also, what I'd like for a lot of you to do, look up initial public offering. They give you a complete understanding what an IPO is. As I mentioned, look up the Security Exchange Act of 1934. These are regulations that, as I mentioned before, that regulates companies who go public and rules and guidelines that they have to follow. Now, because once you go public and the government gets involved, you have to meet stringent restrictions and standards. You have to follow laws that governs this. Also, there's another thing I'm going to mention. You have to pay fees in order to become an IPO. That's another part. The finances to become, in order to make your company public, is astronomical. That's is in the millions. You have to pay fees to be part of, in order to get an IPO. You got to pay certain, I wouldn't say membership, but certain regulation fees. It costs a lot of money in order to become public. So what you want to do, you want to make sure that your company can be able to get the capital needed to be able to uh, go public. Because in order to go public, it's going to cost you in the millions. Is very pricey, and that's another thing you got to think about. Uh, you have to pay for this, and if you figure that, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay for this. This may be too much of an expense for my corporation. You may not want to go that route. So you want to look into that. You want to make sure that you can meet the standards, because there's financial standards you have to meet with this. There's government regulations you have to meet with this. You have to see an investment banker, because they would have to do the analysis and see if your company meets the requirements in order to become a public entity and have an IPO. Excuse me. So these are things that you should think about. These are things that you should discuss about with your members of your executive branch of your company. Even if you have a board, this is something that you guys should discuss about. A lot of companies, like for example, the CEO of Dell, I think it was back in 2014, he uh, I think he pulled Dell out because there was a lot of discrepancies Dell company was having when they were public. They had problems with their being able to keep the demands of their stock prices up. It would fluctuate. Also, they had some problems getting capital to expand the growth of the company into other um, spheres of the IT world. Then the CEO of Dell made the decision to pull the company out of public and put it back into private. And when he did so, the company was able to expand and grow when he moved to private. And he stated that he is glad that he no longer have to. His company was private, and he had to be beholden to shareholders and other parties when his company was public. Um, these are things that you would have to consider, people. Um, there are like those are some of the disadvantages that I mentioned are things that you really and seriously have to consider, and also the advantages, because there are advantages, as I mentioned before. But the thing is, I would recommend do your research. I gave you some of the information that you can do your research, be part of that, make that decision that is needed before you go public. Don't go public, because I know a lot of people want to go public. Oh, the prestige. It does bring prestige to your company. It does bring eyes and attention to the company, because what it says to a lot of entrepreneurs and to others who see your company that, hey, these guys are big wigs. It puts you out there. It really makes you look, really stands your company out. But as I stated, when you're public, you are beholden to the public, and you are beholden to the investors who invest into your company. So this is something that you have to think about, people. Don't be so quick to want to. My is just my opinion. Don't go with it. I'm not telling what any other entrepreneurs out there. I'm not telling you guys don't do it. What I am telling you to do your research. Do your research on it. See if it works for your company. Remember, there is guidelines and requirements you have to pay. You have to um, be able to meet, and there are prices that you're going to have to pay for to become in order to be able to go public. You have to pay, and it costs in the millions. It's expensive to go public. It's not cheap. It's not free. It's expensive. So if you're going to go this route, if small companies, let's say small companies that's making like 5 million, because I did say between 3 million to about 10 million, and then 20 million and more. You may want to think about going public, because this is expensive, and you may not have the capital to, because you have to maintain this. You're going to be paying for this. You have to maintain this, and you have to show that you can maintain it. And not only that you have to show that you can maintain staying in the public sphere, but you also have to maintain the prices of the shares of your stocks. So, because if you don't, you can get ousted out, or your company can dwindle in stocks. Your stocks can plummet, and that's it. It's a wrap for you and your company. So this is something that you really want to think about, and as I mentioned, and consider and look into. Okay, so um, I like to thank all of you here for joining me here on the Entrepreneur. Thank you for your support. Continue your support. Remember, subscribe to the show, share the show. Also, give comments. I like to know comments. I like to know feedback from my audience. And also, the bell, the notification bell. Click onto that so you know when future shows come up. Now, remember, episode 12 will be on Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Okay, so remember, this Friday on the show, episode 12 will be about women and entrepreneurship. And once again, I'd like to thank all my supporters on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, um, TikTok as well. Thank you all for joining me here on The Entrepreneur. And remember, make that money and prosper.